Welcome to Cinema Pursuit, and today we've got another great episode, a great conversation with a first-time guest, Peyton. He's the co-host of the Apple Box Chronicles, just a certified online individual talking about movies, a love of cinema, and I was grateful to have the conversation with him. He came on and we spoke for about 3.5 hours, which is, talking with anybody for 3.5 hours is a marathon, and he was up for the challenge and we had a great time, great conversation. Hot Fuzz, this episode is not 3.5 hours. We did talk about M. Night Shyamalan's 2024 movie, Trap. You'll hear a little bit of that through the episode, but we do have another special episode coming that is a little amuse-bouche, like 30 minutes of talking about Trap. We will be back for a full episode for Trap, just from the excitement and enthusiasm I saw from Peyton about that, because it is his favorite movie. Like if I was talking about The Dark Knight, me and Zach would be going hours upon hours upon hours about that. Maybe he will come on for Logan Lucky also. We talk about it a little bit in the episode, but we do have everything linked for Peyton. Definitely go below, check out his work, and I think he's just a great voice that we should all be excited to hear from. Look out for the mini episode. It'll be coming soon for Trap. It's a level of enthusiasm for cinema, a love for cinema that I hope that everybody has in their life. So definitely look out for that. But before we get into the main episode, the main event, I did want to talk about Drake. He's been on the pod for our first top 5 episode for TV shows for Psych. We had a great time doing that. He was on for the horror movie draft. All 4 of us, we drafted some great movies, great summaries, like pitches for movies, which, we kind of need to make into movies, but definitely need to check out his brand new podcast. It's called the First Time Watch Podcast. His first guest is a brother of the pod, Marley. Marley was actually supposed to be on this episode for Hot Fuzz, but technical difficulties just happened, and destiny had its it had its day with Marley. But Marley was on the first episode with Drake for the First Time Watch pod, and Marley hadn't seen David Fincher's Seven, which is baffling to me, but I'm glad he's finally seen it. And I think we all have those movies where it's like, we have good movies that we probably haven't seen. A lot of people have seen them, and we're like, it's like sometimes we need to finally watch those movies. So I think Drake has created such a great format for that. And the first episode, I had such a joy listening to it. He's a great host. Can't wait to hear more from him and all the guests that he has on. I will be on there soon for Fritz Lang's Big Heat, which, there's a lot of Heat movies out there, but the Big Heat, Noir November, can't wait to watch that and talk about that with him. You'll be on here for The Nice Guys, Shane Black's Nice Guys, and check out his new pod, and, I just want to make sure that we're putting each other on game about the people we, spend our time with. But all that yapping aside, today's movie is one that's near and dear to my heart. It is Edgar Wright's 2007 buddy cop galore, Hot Fuzz. And this is a movie that I experienced at the right age. It speaks to all my sensibilities as a movie watcher. And if you know me, you probably have had me tell you, or I've forced you to some extent to watch Hot Fuzz. And as I record this, I am almost out of the house, running to Running Man in IMAX. I can't wait to watch the new one from Edgar. He's one of our great artists that I always want to see more from. And I hope you enjoy this conversation about Hot Fuzz. We've got a lot coming, and we'll see you at the movies. Because in the pursuit of cinema, you got to watch the movies, So I'll hit the theme music. Alrighty, welcome back to Cinema Pursuit, where in the pursuit of cinema, we talk about the movies we love. And today, Marley should have been here. Marley is having problems, but we'll see if he comes back. But we do have a first time guest on the pod, Peyton Buteau. He's the host of the Apple Box Pod. But I do want to say you're the one person that has asked a filmmaker a good question and gotten a good response. And I mean this in a way where I just went to the Savannah Film Festival again. And some of these people, they work for Variety, Deadline, they work for actual like outlets. And you are asking better questions than they do. And I just want to give you your flowers on that, man. Say what's up. How's everything?
What's up, man? I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on, of course. And yeah, that in regards to that, I mean, that's actually the only question I've ever asked at a filmmaker Q&A because I always psych myself out. I'm like, oh, this question's stupid. I shouldn't ask it. Maybe I should be more confident
Do
more
it.
often.
Do it.
But I do think that partially that question is so good because I basically traveled like to ask that. Like I knew I was gonna go see Shyamalan anyway, but I was like, I have to ask something, and I had that planned and everything. So it wasn't like I guess spontaneous, but I think it also comes from the fact that when you like love the work so much, you know you're
It
gonna have
effortlessly
a better
comes out.
you're gonna
That's
have
what
a
it
better
is.
question. Whereas if I was seeing a film for the first time, it might have been more difficult to
Yeah.
conjure something like that. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. Truly.
We had Jeff Nichols, if you know him. He made up Bike
Yeah,
Riders.
yeah.
We
I've met
saw it.
Jeff Nichols a couple times.
So it was technically 2024. The movie came out. We saw it in October 2023
Was
during the
that at
strikes
was that at
at
Austin
Savannah
Film
Film.
Festival?
It was Savannah Film Festival.
At Austin.
Jeff was here, and they had Clayton Davis. The one person I don't like to be a hater on this pod ever in life, but Clayton Davis, this man, he was asking like, "Hey, like Austin Butler, he must be pretty attractive in real life." I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I could ask him 7 other questions that are better than any of the questions you ask in 30 minutes.
Right.
And it was just that's why like I think there's a need that you have to ask these people the right questions, you know?
Right.
And it gets frustrating at times. I'm like, come on, y'all. Like y'all didn't do your research. And I will say this year, like I saw No Other Choice, Park Chan-wook's
Love that
movie,
movie.
Sinners, a couple other movies, and I think I saw 5 movies, and all of them they had great moderators for the most part, and we had great questions. So I am complaining, but I'm like, there are people out there doing a great job. So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
we need a lot more people asking good questions. And that's the thing. Like we're talking about Hot Fuzz genuinely because this is one of those movies for me. I don't know how it is for you, but like this is like a legendary piece of filmmaking in my book. Before we get into all that, I do want to ask you, where did your love for movies come from? Because you are on the pod for the first time.
Yeah, you know what? I can actually kind of put these things together because they have relevancy to each other. So my love for movies, it kind of comes from the fact that at least this is the theory that my mother has is that when I was younger, she wasn't able to take us to the movies like all that much, like maybe 1 or 2 times in a year we would see the biggest movie that would come out, whatever. So it was kind of special to
Yeah.
go to the theater. And now that I have more independence, and you got that AMC A list and that
Yep.
Regal Unlimited, right? So it's a lot easier to actually go to the movies more often, as well as the fact that when I was 16, I got a movie theater job, and that lets me see stuff. So in her mind, she said, I think you like movies so much and you want to see everything because that was so special, and you just want to kind of like go back to that place. So to her, that's what it is, and I think part of it is that, but also I used to be a Twitch streamer for speedrunning video games, mainly the game Kingdom Hearts, if you've heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was a speedrunner for that. And when I was doing that, I met a friend who was into that sort of thing. And he was also super into movies. So he introduced me to a lot of movies. And Hot Fuzz was one of them. It was one of his favorite films. And we're still friends to this day. We've been friends for like over 8 years. And we still talk. And what's so funny is that I stopped Twitch streaming and I started doing movie content. And he actually got less into movies and started doing Twitch streaming
Did
full
the other way.
time. So he's a Twitch streamer full time now. And at the
Yeah.
time I met him, he wasn't even streaming. And now I'm a movie content guy. And at the time he met me, I wasn't even that into movies like to the level that I am now. So it actually kind of goes hand in hand with Hot Fuzz, because that was one of those movies where I was like, oh wow, I've never seen a movie with this much like energy. I think Baby Driver was the first Edgar Wright I saw was when it came out. But other than that, Hot Fuzz was different because it's a lot more British.
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah. And
and
that's one of the things I
so it
love
has a
about
different
this
flavor
movie.
to it.
It is undeniably British. And I
Yeah,
mean, we need more movies like this. And I'll talk about that. But yeah, like we're talking Thursday, and today Running Man is coming out.
yeah.
Where does Hot Fuzz stand for you with all of Edgar's movies? I mean, for me, it's at the top. Like, I don't, it's been a hard road of like, okay, is this better than like all of his subsequent movies? I'm like, is this better than Hot Fuzz though? Like, that's my question always.
I think for me, I still put Baby Driver on top. Some problematic people in that movie for sure, but I think
Yeah.
for that one, I again, like, it was the simplicity, I guess, of the fact that everything goes with the music. And seeing that in the theater at I was 15 when it came out, I was like, whoa, like this kind of, it's such a simple thing because it's so easy to pick up on, but it's so like rhythmic, and you see the care and the craft that was put into it. And so that kind of was one of the seeds that was planted to get me to kind of look at movies differently. 2017 was a big year for that,
It's
for me.
great,
There's
great movie year.
several other movies that have done that
I
from
mean,
that year.
after, I mean, 2017, 2019, some of the best years of like movies in the 2010s.
I
And,
agree, and I also
and
think
we're,
2025 is a really good year so
yeah,
far.
and 26 is about to be stacked. We're going to be feasting next year. And I
Yeah,
think when it comes to like for me, for Baby Driver, just real quick, the thing is, it's not just Edgar that was on point. Bill Pope, who shot the movie, he's done everything from. I mean, the first movie I saw from him was Spider Man. You know, Spider Man 1 and 2, Raimi's Spider Mans, The Matrix, obviously, and just one of the. I mean, nowadays he's doing a lot of other stuff, and he's not. You know, he's not where he used to be just because, you know, the movies today aren't where they used to be. And there's a scene in the middle of the movie where they're in the apartment and he's with the older gentleman. And he's like kind of like whirling around the room, I think making a sandwich.
yes,
So during that scene, I think that scene and the opening scene, one or the other, like where he's like walking to get the coffee, it's one or
right.
the other, where Bill was like, these shots are too short. You're going to have to come back and shoot this. We need these to be longer. And Edgar didn't listen. And what happened? They had to come back and do it again because Bill Pope is just that good. He's like, yeah, these shots aren't long enough. You don't have enough. Because it's such a rhythmic movie to, like you said, to where it needs to be cut to cut to cut to cut. And they just didn't have enough in there, so they had to go back and do it. I mean, we don't notice, but Edgar was like, at least he had the humility to say, like, yeah, like Bill Pope is like, he's the dude. Even though they haven't worked on another movie again, sadly. You know who his new DP is, right? The guy he's been working with recently.
Chung Hung Chung,
Yeah, who
right?
shot obvious? Yeah,
Incredible,
who,
incredible DP.
I will say, Uncharted. Did not like that movie one bit, but I was like, oh, the CG light, like the green screen lighting. I'm like, this is really good lighting. I was like, oh, it's Chung. Of course, it's great. The man who did
Yeah,
Old Boy, literally.
and let's not forget Wonka.
Yeah, he did Wonka.
Yeah,
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. We did me and Marley did Paddington 2 on the pod, and I was talking about Paul King, and I like these guys are really great filmmakers, and it makes a lot of sense that he did Wonka because
he
Wonka
also did
is
Heretic.
stellar.
Wonka
Really,
is one of my favorite films. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
The thing about Wonka is like we don't have enough movies today where they just have like an honest heart to them, and like props to Timothy Chalamet. This man is just picking the perfect projects one after another. Where it's like I don't know if I'm trying to think if he's had a miss. He might have had one miss. Like, and
I
to
love
be a
Tim.
young actor, actually, for my recasting today, I was like if I made an American one, low key nowadays, Timmy would probably be in the movie because that's just like where we're going nowadays.
He would be
And I
great
think,
as like a comic side character, kind of like in Don't Look Up or something. You know?
yeah. Well, what's the line? Mother fingerling potatoes or
Yeah,
whatever. I
yeah,
did not like that movie either. Just the message of it is so it's so pessimistic to me that it does not sit well in my bones. But yeah, I did love him. I loved a lot of the people in the movie, but that movie was just not for me.
yeah. That's okay.
But Baby Driver on top. So where's the Hot Fuzz?
Second, it's
Second.
second
Okay,
for
okay.
sure. Close second.
So for me, like getting into like my memories for this, it is one of those things where this is actually so this pod, like me and Zach, we started talking about movies in middle school. So we've known each other for about 15 years now, give or take, you know, a couple years plus or minus. But we've known each other since like roughly 2007. And we had another friend, Brian. We used to sit outside like during car pickup, like after school, and we'd be talking about movies because I always talk about movies. And I was like, "Oh, did y'all see that trailer for that movie on TV, Hot Fuzz?" And we're like just middle school kids, like whatever that is, it looks awesome. And never watched the movie, and then got into high school, maybe let's say maybe 2011, 2012. Finally started to get access to movies and have time, so I finally watched Shaun of the Dead, and then I watched Hot Fuzz, and I think I might have watched both of them at least 4 times each, like in high school. I was hyped for The World's End coming out. Like the Cornetto trilogy wasn't like completed yet, and we didn't even get the movie in theaters here. But it's like the first love for me was like the Dark Knight trilogy. Its second trilogy that I fell in love with was this right here. It was the Cornetto trilogy. And if you meet me just randomly, if we talk about movies, I will talk about like, hey, let's watch Mad Max Fury Road, let's watch John Wick, or let's watch Hot Fuzz. And I have at least pushed John Wick and Hot Fuzz down the throats of like at least 30 to 50 people. Because like these are the movies where like they're bound to me as like a person, like as a DNA. And these are the movies that made me a fan of movies in the first place. Like so much so that like when we were making movies in high school, I remember going on the computer, pulling up, there's a scene at the beginning of Shaun of the Dead where I think he's using the bathroom and they use like zooms and like really fast edits to like show him using the bathroom or whatever
Right.
it is. And I was showing it to my friends. I'm like, guys, we gotta do something like this. Did we do it? Yeah. Did it come out as well? No. Because you don't understand when you're in like high school and you're like what behind the ears, the editing, the way he's shooting it, the sound. It's like there's
Right.
so many elements that go into it. So I think these movies are insanely rewatchable, like when it comes to the Cornetto trilogy. But for me, it's like I love these sorts of movies in the first place. So Hot Fuzz is just ultimately like my bread and butter. So this is the first time I've rewatched the movie in about 5 years, like before COVID, I guess.
I would say me
And that
too.
and I think the last time I watched it, I was showing it to somebody, and I the movie never gets old. I'll tell you that. This movie does not age one bit, and just the sign of like the best movies for us. Do you like buddy movies, like buddy cop movies, buddy movies in general?
I've gotten more into it. I think it wasn't necessarily something I sought out, but as I've watched more of them, I've kind of realized that I do love them. When I first saw this movie, I didn't actually understand a lot of the references they were making. Of course, I understood Bad Boys 2 and Point Break
Yeah,
because they're referenced directly in the
yeah.
movie, but there's some other stuff in here too that, Edgar Wright is playing with. He's super knowledgeable when it comes to movies and his influences. He's just so detail oriented in the way he makes films and he knows what he likes. And I think for me seeing it for the first time, there was some stuff in there that totally went over my head. So the more I actually revisit it years and years later, as I've seen more movies, it's like Hot Fuzz is like this thing that you come back to, and it's just better now that you've seen all of this other stuff that it's playing with. So yeah, buddy cop movies I like. Ever since I saw Point Break, Bad Boys 2, I watched both of those last year. Point Break I might have watched this
First
year.
time?
Yeah, and I
Wow.
loved both of those. And then I love movies like Midnight Run.
Yeah,
That's a
Martin
really good
Brest,
one. I mean, they're not
fantastic.
both cops in that, but
But
it's
it's like that's why I say buddy movies. It's the
yeah,
same
yeah,
thing. You could put plane, trains, and automobiles. Like you need to have
right,
two people who don't get along in the same situation, like, and then they kind of go from there. Me, it's like
right.
Rush Hour, 48 Hours, which is Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy, Lethal Weapon. Danny Glover and the guy we don't want to talk about, The Nice Guys. Have you seen The Nice Guys?
Oh, I love The Nice Guys. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
Kiss Kiss.
Shane Black wrote
Yep.
both of
Or
those. Yeah.
another one, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. There's a
Yes.
lot of Shane Black. The
Yeah, he's great.
Sting.
The
Uh,
Sting.
Thelma and Louise, Ridley Scott. That's like one of the iconic ones for me. And then you could throw it to even like Tommy Boy. Who is it? Chris Farley, David Spade.
Yeah.
If Marley was here, he'd be loving that conversation. He loves that movie. But like, I love buddy movies because it ultimately is like Rush Hour is one of my favorite movies. Like growing up, like I was watching that Bad Boys 2. I was watching it entirely too young, but there's something about like the clash of different culture, and this movie has a bit of it, right? That like the city life versus the Sanford little small town life of like, oh, nothing's going on, but there actually is something going on the entire
Right.
time. And what do you think this is a parody movie? I don't know where this lands for you. Like, we had Naked Gun this year. That's a straight out, flat out parody movie.
That's a spoof for sure. I think this one, it's really well balanced, and I think it kind of seamlessly weaves in and out of parody. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I think it creates its own thing for sure, but it's got so many homages in it that you could call certain parts of it a parody if you wanted to. What Edgar Wright is doing and I mean, you even talked about this earlier with the Shaun of the Dead scene, but he's making the mundane things really like feel like action, and that's
Oh
what he
yeah.
wants to do with this film. So it really puts you in the head of Nick Angel, the main character, because he takes his job so seriously that the paperwork is like just as cool
Going
and
crazy.
flashy and glamorous as the rest of the job. So I think that's what Edgar Wright really brings to it, is that kind of glorious sensibility to the mundane aspects. And I think that's where you could see it as not, maybe not parody, but like a subversion of the cop movie, because it's not all, it indulges in those things in the second
In the
end,
back end,
which
yeah.
I think is actually when it becomes parody, because then you have like the Michael Bay shot and the Point Break shooting the gun in the air, like all those references. But earlier on in the movie, I think what it's trying to do and this works really well in tandem with the big city to small town transition the character is going through, is it tries to basically subvert what you expect from a cop movie, which is like action and chases and stuff, and it makes everything smaller and more mundane, and like it's like the character just doesn't fit into that. So all the mundane stuff is given all of that tonality that the character would want from it. So I think that's what it does so brilliantly.
Have you seen Lethal Weapon?
No, I haven't seen Lethal Weapon
You
actually.
definitely need to watch it. I think the same time I watched Edgar Wright, like this Cornetto trilogy, I also watched the Lethal Weapon quadrology, like the four movies.
Yeah,
And, main character actor aside, as a human, they're just a fantastic group of movies, whether some of them are up and down in terms of like story quality, but there's such a chemistry there. And there's a lot of these main, story cop movie things going on, but there's also the elements of like what's going on in his life at home. Like Lethal Weapon opens with someone dying, and that's the case of the movie. But ultimately, the like Mel's character in the movie keeps a hollow point with him to do that, to kill himself. And that's like there's a whole element behind that. And he's trying to end his life. And Danny
Danny
Glover's
Glover.
character, he's trying to retire. He's like, I got a couple weeks left. What are you doing? Like, why are y'all putting me with this guy?
Right.
And it's an ultimate clash of like you said, it's the mundane. The mundane is there of like regular life, but it's also this like jazzy kind of like detective movie. Blade Runner, is also a detective movie, and I think that's like one of the best ones ever made. We've done it on the pod, and it's a conversation about like what does it mean to be human and all these other things, but fundamentally, it's still like a cop movie. And I will say, I say cop movie. We're not, we're not. It's we like this format of story of detective. The most cop I will support is what Peyton was as a Halloween this year. The sheriff.
From
Who's it?
Eddington.
Who's the sheriff?
Joe Cross from Eddington.
Jim Cross. Eddington
Uh,
is still one of my favorite movies this year.
I
Genuinely,
agree. I agree.
what is it? The Materialist, that Rental Family, which comes out in a couple weeks. If you're
Yeah, I'm
listening to
excited
this,
to
go
see
see
that.
Rental Family. It is a wholesome movie, but it's ultimately like or the way Brendan Fraser kind of said it was, it's like a love story for loneliness in a good way. And it honestly, it compares to this movie pretty well, because it's a movie that you can only make in Britain, like Hot Fuzz, and this is in Rental Family's a movie you can only make in Japan in a good way. So yeah, I think the movie transcends parody too. Like ultimately, it does make so many references. It feels like a Tarantino movie, but even makes more references than Tarantino does. But it's
Yeah.
like they they go into genre, they support the genre, but they also are like, hey, everything from like Dirty Harry to Lethal Weapon to Tony Scott, like we love this stuff, and we just want to make sure that y'all see that we love you. But
Yeah, and
have you seen? I'm asking you a lot of movie
that's
questions. Have you
okay.
seen Murder on the Orient Express?
I haven't.
Because the whole element of them talking, like everyone being the bad guy, like the NWA, like all the characters we know from the Village being the bad guy, that's kind of what Agatha Christie did first. And she's one of the people mainly inspiring these kind of whodunit movies that Ryan Johnson's been making with Knives Out,
Yeah,
which is in turn made a lot more whodunit movies recently, and none of them have been as great because what Ryan does, what Edgar does, is they take the time when they're making these stories. And sadly, these people just don't take enough time to write. Do you know how long it took? It took them 18 months to write Hot Fuzz between Edgar and Simon.
wow.
And they're interviewing people, doing all that stuff. They're watching a ton of movies, but it's all to understand what you're doing. Matt Reeves, I think it took him 2 years to write the new Batman, like Batman Part 2. It took him a pretty long time to write the other one too. But it's in the same love of like, if I'm going to take the time to do this, we're going to do this right. And I just have a lot of respect for the folks who do it that way rather than being like, oh yeah, the studio gave me 6 weeks to write a movie.
Yeah.
But all that being said, let's get into the action is the juice. We're talking about Hot Fuzz because the thing is, movies give conversation because like the emotion you feel for them, right? The
Yeah.
action is the juice. Do you know where this comes from? This is from Heat. Have you seen Heat?
No, I haven't seen Heat.
Whenever you watch it, it's one of the few movies like Hot Fuzz where I can hype it up to the moon. And when you watch it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, it really is that good."
Oh
Because
yeah.
it is ultimately like this crime character piece where I think people talk about The Godfather in such a way. I talk about Heat in that way because it's just like one of my fundamentals. I love The Dark Knight, so it's like you have to love Heat. That's just like a given. But action is a juice. The most juice scenes of Hot Fuzz. What is your scene for Hot Fuzz? You can have 110. Talk about the juice.
So because I anticipated us being three,
Yeah,
and I thought, okay, if everyone contributes a scene, I need to make sure that I have something that the other two don't say. So I planned out three. So the first one I thought of, I guess action wise, is that scene in the grocery store. I love that scene where there's just two guys throwing cutlery at them, and there's that
yeah.
fight between Simon Pegg and I forget his name, but the very
Yarp
big.
or Yarp is not his name, but like I just call him
That's what he
Yarp.
said. Yeah,
Or you
exactly.
could call him
But
Clegane from Game of Thrones. 'Cause that's afterwards.
yeah, I love when Olivia Coleman hits the girl with that sign and goes, "Nothing like a little girl on girl." Hilarious to me. Yeah, that scene has it is that, and the scene when they are storming the, I guess, town
Yeah.
square sort of thing, and you get the Michael Bay references in there. Yeah,
Mine is also as soon as he gets to the gas station and he turns around and he sees like Walking Tall and obviously Point Break, Bad Boys 2. He sees the cop movies
right.
and then literally his voice changes, right? It turns into Dirty Harry for the voice where it's like, we're locking in now. And I'm like, come on, let's go. And
Yeah, and
actually, it's not Michael Bay. I mean, yeah, there's a little Michael Bay, but ultimately it's Tony Scott because
well, okay,
Michael
sure.
Bay
I
ripped
meant
Tony Scott.
yeah, but you do have Bad Boys 2 being so present in the movie. That's why I said that. And you have that shot, that shot that they even show it in the movie where, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are getting up, and it's that classic Michael Bay shot that he does in like every movie where he's like, shit just got real or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, the rotating camera thing. Like he
Right.
uses an ambulance. It's the scene right before they do the robbery where they're like in the
Yeah.
car shop, and you're like, and the camera is literally swinging, it's swinging like 15 miles per hour. That's what it feels like. It's going crazy around the room. But the whole point is to like capture an energy, and
Right.
I mean, they do it with the mundane, which I'll talk about in a minute, but like they also do it with all the action, especially then they like when they're doing the shootout, like in the square, like the main part of the town, that was all like hand cranked camera stuff. So it's like it's imperfect, but it is something that Tony Scott did with a lot of his work where you're doing a lot of cutting, there's a lot of flashes and things like that, and there's like stuff going everywhere, which Michael Bay definitely does, but it there's a lot of Tony Scott in there that's inseparable in a sense. And the other one that I was going to add is the little standoff at the end after they get out of the grocery store and they get to the mini part of the town. Actually, fun fact, whenever they speed off to like the last fight, they have the people from like the village people, not the village people, not YMCA village people, but like the village association that's supposed to like judge the village.
Hmm.
Those the two ladies are actually Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg's moms. I always,
Really?
yeah, I always love hearing that fact on like the commentary. Be like, yeah,
That's
those
amazing.
are our moms. Like, I think the guy in the middle is like an actor, but the other two were their moms. Because
That's
Edgar
incredible.
Wright grew up in this village, like this is the village that he grew up in, and he essentially just went back and shot a whole movie there. And I
Wow,
think,
I didn't know that.
like, the scene where they're chasing the shoplifter.
Yes.
Like he jumps in on him, like hiding. That is where like Edgar Wright had his first kiss.
Wow.
Like that sort of thing, or like when the they're chasing the duck or the geese or whatever it is, the swan. Geez, I went through
Yes.
a lot of
Yes.
birds. They're chasing the swan. It's like, oh, that's Edgar Wright's friend's house. Like that sort of detail. So
Wow. Okay, so it's very personal too.
very
Yeah.
personal, yeah. And I think that's a lovely thing where it's like you get to go back home and make just like the coolest action movie there, and you wouldn't think that this is the setting for an action movie, right? So,
No. And that's another thing with the way that it puts that action juice into the mundane, you know what I mean? And the death scene at the church when that spike falls on
ooh,
that guy's head, it's
yeah,
like it's my favorite piece of gore in the movie. I just think it's like it's very gnarly and upsetting and also I guess a little bit slapstick because it's kind of
yeah.
ridiculous.
When the thing falls on him and the way that his like arms flail afterwards,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
makes it kind of like it feels kind of like 70s horror movie in a good way.
Right.
And
Right.
I didn't realize it till I've seen this movie legitimately 20 plus times. I've seen this movie. It didn't take till this time after having a little bit of a break watching the movie so much that I was like, oh, there's a lot of horror in this movie. I didn't realize. I mean, genuinely, I did not realize it one bit because it doesn't register in my head. I'm just like, I'm loving the movie. I don't think about it. And I was like, oh, there's so much horror. There's like a little bit of like Dario Argento, like high key like slasher vibes in this movie. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I love this. I'm like, there's a story going on with the slashing that's going on, and you stay so invested within it. Like you said, the whole thing of the thing falling on his head and literally half of his body's gone and him flailing around. And there's just so much detail behind the horror elements in this movie. The back end of the movie is like part cop movie, part Western, especially with him like rolling into town on the horse.
Right.
And the rest of the movie is cop movie and part slasher movie in the best way possible. That's the genius, right? No, who would think to put like a little bit of a Western, the cop stuff, and the slasher together, right? And they make references to like Straw Dogs and a couple other things, but it's like you want to have a movie that's creative like this. And that's why there's juice in this movie, right? That yeah, you could have had people get murdered, but if it didn't look this cool, would we really enjoy it? Because they drop off the short guy at his house, right? And they walk away, and in the same frame, there's the killer standing in the
Right.
background, right?
Yeah.
And Edgar used that trick in like his like short films as a kid or whatever, and he brought it back in this movie. But obviously, it works so well in this movie that in the same frame you see the killer, it zooms in, it's like, oh yeah, they about to get some murdering done today, right?
Mhm.
Dude, talk about the gruesome when the florist gets killed. Like he goes
Oh
to the
yeah.
car and the shears just go into her chest, and there's like arterial blood going everywhere. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I love this. This is awesome.
Yeah,
Such a
that's a
morbid
great
thing.
kill. That's one of the best ones for sure.
You could say this movie, all the action is good. All the dramatic moments are good. All the comedy is good. All the horror is good. This is one of the few movies in my book where I'm like, no notes. I have no
Yeah, the
complaints.
the genre blending is flawless in this movie. He's blending like a buddy cop movie and a slasher movie together in this like small town, and I just think that that's really awesome. I mean, he does kind of maybe a similar thing in Shaun of the Dead, where he's blending a zombie movie and a comedy. In The World's End, it's almost like a comedy you might expect from something like Super Bad with an
Yeah.
alien invasion movie, and I think that's also very cool.
And the genius of World's End, even I think, put it this way, like Hot Fuzz is my favorite one, but World's End is the best written one. And people always put World's End at the bottom. They don't talk about it enough. And I don't think they give the writing of that movie enough credit. Especially like it takes till like 40 minutes into the movie that we finally get a head off, and this is a monster, like an alien invasion movie.
Right.
And that means that you spend the rest of the time like investing into all this like vast group of like amazing actors and characters till this thing happens, and then everything goes sideways in the best way possible. I'm about to rewatch The World's End. Like, I'm gonna watch Running Man, obviously, but I'm gonna rewatch The World's End. It's gonna be special.
I'm excited to hear your thoughts on Running Man. I'm also excited to hear everyone's thoughts on Running Man because I really liked the movie, but I
I didn't
think
know
that
you've seen Running Man.
I saw it on Monday. Yeah, Edgar is doing something very interesting with that film because I think he knows that people are anticipating him to do a full-on high-energy action movie, and there's action in it for sure. But the movie sort of operates as the Running Man show does, where it's this chess match, this balance of trying to form a genuine connection with an audience that lusts for carnage and trying to get a message through to them that, hey, you know, sometimes all the stuff that you're entertained by and that you engage with is to fuel people in power and just distract you from the fact that they're taking everything, you
Yeah,
know? And so you have to you have them going, stop filming me. Like, you have to, listen to what I'm saying. And then you have the people in power trying to misinform the audience, give them a reason to be more angry at the working class, at each other, instead of, looking up
the
at the people
people
that
who
are
actually are
actually
inciting the
causing the
issue.
problem. So I think Edgar Wright actually pulls back on purpose to be like, I have to lean into this sometimes. It's survival, right? If I don't satisfy the audience, I don't get to keep running.
Yeah,
I don't get to stay on.
I don't keep
If I'm not,
living the way I need to
if
live
I'm
to
not,
survive. Yeah,
yeah, if I'm not helping the ratings of the show, if the movie doesn't have enough action in it, then it's not going to be successful, and I'm done for. But I also need to make sure that the message gets across. So I think it's an interesting balancing act he's playing with, and I think a lot of people will say Edgar Wright's not present in this movie. His direction is not as loud in this movie. What happened? It's the Running Man. It's supposed to be exciting, and I think that is exactly the point. I think that is exactly what he's doing. I think Edgar Wright is too smart for the movie to be just like completely that to be
lackluster or like
haphazard, or
without
for him to
style. Yeah,
for him to be
but
like, oh, I'm not
ultimately,
going to
it's like,
stylize this.
number one, I don't. It'd be avarice on my part to be like, hey, I want Edgar Wright to make another movie just like Hot Fuzz. That's
Right.
not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for him to do something like you're talking about. Running
Yeah.
Man, Last Night in Soho. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, he's
I
so
might not agree
established that he
with
has
these
to shake
movies
it.
fully, but it's like these are the swings you want great artists to take. I want to
Right.
see something new. They want to do something new, and we should always make sure they have the ability to do so, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Alrighty. So on to production value. Production value. Have you seen Super 8?
Yes, but I was very
So
young.
in Super 8, when they're at the train station, when the train crashes, the
Yes.
kid, like the one I love the most, he's like, production value. Like, the train's coming, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
what is the most impressive part of this movie? Whether it's, a shot, scene, moment, aspect of this movie, especially a movie like this, it screams production value the whole way. What screams production value for you?
I really think it is kind of what I was getting at before, which is the way that he just puts adrenaline into the mundane in this movie. I think that it's so interesting to have an experience like that where you're seeing the paperwork as being one of the most entertaining scenes in the movie because the montaging is so interesting, and like him, maybe for example, him traveling to the town with the peace lily in his hand, going on trains and phone calls and bus stops and stuff, and like you just get all of these great like edits, and the film just moves constantly.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's really what I think, I was just talking about Running Man and how maybe he's pulling back in that movie, but that movie's still so entertaining the whole time. And I think that's what he's so great at is just making movies that constantly move and never really stop, and they're always developing. So for me, yeah, the most impressive part is just the way that he's able to include a lot of things that shouldn't be on paper entertaining and make them incredibly intense and moving.
The way that they actually shoot and cut together the paperwork is straight out, like directly out of Tony Scott's book. Domino,
Yeah.
it's not a good movie, but it is from Domino, maybe Deja Vu, like after like post 2000s, like Tony Scott. That's like a bit of his style. That's literally his style. I think they talk about it in the commentary. Like, this is a direct homage to Tony Scott. We're doing this because of him. And it's because it's just there's, like you said, there's such an intensity behind the sound and everything there. When Hacksaw Ridge of all movies won sound mixing, the gentleman who actually won, I think he had 21 nominations for sound work before he won. Right, so 21 noms, no wins till he won. And he worked with Tony Scott a lot, and he was talking about it in an interview somewhere. And he was talking about like Tony would sit with us with the sound team and be like, how can we make this better? What is the best sound? How do we bring this movie to life? And he's one of the few filmmakers out there. Like, I'm a big Tony Scott fan in the sense that it's same thing with Edgar and his team, is that it's the diligence of creativity. That just because you shot the movie, and you can edit a movie together, but it's not going to have the energy like a Tony Scott movie, like an Edgar Wright movie, because they put so much time and detail into their work at every aspect that you feel it. It's not just you see it, you feel it genuinely. Like every single transition, every single emotional moment, you feel it through the movies because they're using every single effect. At the beginning, when Martin Freeman is sitting there and he's telling like, hey, you've been transferred, literally they put in like a record, like a tape scratch or a record scratch, just to take the wind out of the moment of like, oh, I'm getting a promotion, but it's in the middle of nowhere. And that's one detail for one second of the movie. But this is the entire movie, right? That you have the most peak shot selections where I'll just be like, dang, that's a crazy shot. They have such a great shot selection, and it never feels like it's too much. You know, it never feels like, oh, they shot every single angle on this and they shot cover. You know what it means to shoot coverage, right? Where it's like that you shoot every single
Yeah,
part of everything and you shoot it to death because you have no instinct of as to what you're doing. And obviously, Edgar
right.
has an instinct from the jump as to what he's doing. And it feels like it took 10 months to make this movie. It took him like 3 months, or not even three, maybe 2 months to make this movie, which is insane to me. But they just have such a confidence within the filmmaking at every point. So they say you make a movie when you write it in pre-production, you make the movie when you shoot it, and then you make the movie again when you're editing it. And it feels like this movie is in sync at every stage of like, we feel the emotion and understand what's going on at every single point, and that there's no faltering of like, oh, the script isn't good, maybe they missed a couple shots here, maybe the editing isn't good. It's like everything in this movie is great, you know. Mad Max Fury Road, that's one of those movies for me, and I think the production value of this movie is also like that editing and every single part of the movie, where it's like the shooting, the writing, the editing, like it forges a movie into existence that you wouldn't even think that would exist in this world. And like you said, it is the montages, like him going to Sanford, him doing the paperwork. It is straight the intensity of mundanity when it comes to the police work. It's become more of a thing now to like talk about paperwork, but they used to never talk about paperwork.
Yeah, it also adds to the script as well because you see how everything that they're doing with the murders and
Yeah.
everything is actually the reasoning behind it is a lot less significant than Nick Angel thinks it might be. And he has this he's like he builds this like very strong case against
Skinner.
Skinner, and he like it seems pretty plausible, and then he's like, no, that's not it. And but no, he is involved in it, but it's like everyone over ridiculous like minor things. So it's kind of this high tension, high stakes thing happening as a result of this very mundane, insignificant thing, because that's just the stakes of the town.
Yeah.
And that's almost why Nick Angel ironically becomes the perfect hero for this town. Yeah, because he takes that stuff with weight. I
Yep.
mean, it's very clever. You mentioned shot selection. I think this is another way that Edgar Wright is even similar to Shyamalan, because Shyamalan, I don't know if you know this, he
Storyboards.
storyboards
Everything.
every single
Yep.
thing. He can see the whole movie in the storyboards, and so his filmmaking is also very economical in that way. And with him, Unbreakable, it comes to mind for one from the 2000s where he did all of these long takes with very little coverage. It's a very risky way to make that movie. It's the fewest, I think it's the least amount of shots he's ever had for a movie, and that it works. And he took kind of that big risk to have those shots because he had a vision, a distinct vision for what the movie was going to look like. And Edgar Wright is the same way, very detail oriented and
The thing
meticulous.
about having longer shots, I love having longer shots, but it's like it depends on what it is, right? Have you seen The Post from Spielberg?
Yeah,
There's a scene at the beginning of the movie where Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks are having a conversation at like lunch, and they're shooting the scene, and Spielberg's like, "Take the other cameras away. We're just gonna do this in a wide," and that's what it is in the movie. He's just like, "Oh, it's
yeah.
Tom Hanks and Meryl just talking." He's like, "People can edit with their eyes. This is the juice. Just put the camera. Let's go." And that's what good filmmaking is, where it's like, yeah, you can have other plans, but it's like if you see that, you got to recognize the game of that, right? And that's what M. Night does. That's what Edgar does. You know, they feel that tension, and but they do it beforehand, right? No, not everybody is Steven Spielberg, right? Not everybody can do that genuinely, right? And I mean, I was talking about Park Chan Wook. Park Chan Wook, he does it to no end. Bong Joon Ho, same thing. They storyboard to no end. There's a whole book of Parasite that's literally all of his like hand drawn storyboards put together. Lovely little book of if you want to study like, oh, this is what he saw, this is what we see in the movie, this is what he saw, this is what's in the movie, and it's pretty much bar for bar exactly what you see because they have the vision in their head. That's what like I feel like if you work on any movie, you need that. I think especially if you work on these like high budget like CGI movies, the reason why James Gunn movies for the most part look better than most people who make the same sort of movie is because he has more forethought about it. He has more storyboards, he has more thoughts, he has more input on the vision. You look at Godzilla minus one, that movie was made for like $14 million. But there's little video of the director, who is also like a VFX artist himself, going from like artist to artist, computer to computer, being like, "Hey, do it this way. This is what I need. This is what I need. Okay, that's good. This is what I need." He's giving them their thoughts right there, right then, and that's not usually what you see with like directors. So like the directing job is just answering questions, conveying what you know, and if you can't communicate properly, you can't do that job. That job is pure communication. So these guys, they know how to communicate their vision. And Edgar he's one of the few that we have still that can do that. And he'll stick to his guns. He didn't make Ant-Man. And I think if he had made Ant-Man, we'd be in a different place. We wouldn't have Running Man coming out today. And I say,
Yeah,
I mean, like we can take the L for Ant Man because I would rather have a Last Night in Soho, a Baby Driver, Running Man than an Ant Man 5. You know, I don't need that
right,
nonsense. Genuinely, even though I love superhero movies, we don't need that. I'd rather have what we have because Running Man it
right.
was, I've seen the original. I know what like the concept is, but I understand that what he's doing is he's putting it through his lens, and like you said, there's a very relevant conversation, a timeless conversation about capitalism, about division and hatred and dehumanization that transcends in that, you know? So I'm
Yes,
excited to see that because it definitely is like something where you have a great artist make a movie, you just got to go see it. It doesn't matter what it is, you just got to go see it. So I'm excited.
I agree.
Couple things. One thing, Nick Frost's character Danny, when he is drunk, like the first scene at the bar where he's drunk and he like reverses the car into the fountain,
Yeah.
and Simon Pegg does it like a barrel roll, and the car comes speeding
Hmm.
past. Every single time I watch this movie, I have to rewind the shot and watch it again because I'm like, this is such a like. I think it looks like he actually did it, and it's some Tom Cruise stuff. I'm like, wow, that looks great. I'm just like, I just admire the action of that. Like it always never fails to like impress me. Where I'm like,
Yeah, I
Tom
mean,
Cruise can jump
those are
off of
things I don't
planes, but
even.
like this is what excites me.
Yeah, those are things. Yeah, like I don't even think about that. But you're right. It is impressive. Like if I had to shoot that as a director or an actor, I would be like, okay, how are we going to do
Yeah.
this safely? You have to figure. Those are just things you have to figure out just
Like
constantly.
when they're jumping the fence chasing the kid. Simon
Right? He
Pegg,
does a Texas
like they
switch.
do this Texas switch for the last one. He does two or
Yeah,
three of
he does like
those.
the first. Yeah.
But the backflip is obviously someone else. It is a seamless Texas switch. But I'm just like, you
Yeah.
really did that. And obviously the funny part of like Danny, like Nick Frost, just like running into the fence and just like plowing it down. That was actually in the trailer, if I remember, from like 18 years ago. Like I just remember it being hilarious in the trailer. I'm like, I don't know what this movie is, but I need to watch this movie because it feels so awesome.
Definitely. It's so good. And that is a great scene. I love the part before that when he's like, "You mothers," and it's a bunch of actual mothers.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite jokes for sure.
That's the thing. It's the comedy, but it's also like it's such a cop thing of like, oh my god, like these people are real. Like, I got to deal with this moment of these
Yeah,
people, these bad guys or whatever. And it's like I could see Stallone or Arnold saying this line, and then the juxtaposition is just hilarious of it actually being the mothers.
it's incredible.
I will say, watching the movie again, I was like, oh, this is how you light night scenes. And this is how you just light movies in general. Because this is a contemporary, like, this movie is set in 2007, it's set in modern times. And a lot of the time nowadays, if you have a movie set today, the lighting just feels weird. It doesn't feel natural. Or I say natural, but it doesn't feel like it has a heft, like, visually to it. You have movies like No Other Choice. Like certain people make modern movies and you feel that one battle after another, you feel the visual
Hmm.
lighting presence of that. But Hot Fuzz, I'm like, oh, this is where you have legible stellar nightlight. You have days that don't feel unnatural in a way. And I'm like, oh, we should be doing more of this. And actually the DP for this, he just shot a Fantastic Four. So
Oh
the
wow,
first step, like Jess Hall, he just shot that. So interesting.
I didn't know that.
I mean, for me, it's like I saw the name. I was like, why do I recognize the name Jess Hall? I'm like, and then I looked at it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay. Last production value is every single plot device of like the any cop movie ever. Meaning, my favorite one is the Japanese Peace Lily because it's something I wrote
Yes,
into my head where it's like at some point Nicholas Angel definitely had to go to therapy from work, and they were like, you should keep a plant, and that'll like give you responsibility and like look after this thing, and it'll give you a
right,
purpose in life, you know. And
right.
I was like, oh, this feels like therapy for some reason to me. I was like, it's just such a good detail of like. And then my favorite part is that, oh, he's like, hold on, I gotta go out for like a personal moment, and then he goes to buy Danny a peace lily, and I was like, oh, my heart. I was
Yeah,
like, I love that.
it's so cute.
Yes.
It's so
Because
sweet.
it's like the whole movie, like 45 minutes. I don't think he 45, 50 minutes, he doesn't laugh, he doesn't smile. But finally, like he and Danny are like Nick and Danny are working together so well that he does finally laugh and snicker. I was like, oh, this is what it is. Like this is that like peak buddy cop moment sort of thing. I love it. But it's like this movie is more
Yeah,
wholesome than some of the other ones at times. Like this is more like Rush Hour is kind of wholesome, but like it's kind of not at times.
yeah. This one's adorable. Really,
I like adorable movies. I think that's just like a me thing. I love adorable.
I agree.
Like I was
Yeah,
talking about Rental
the
Family.
chemistry is
Like
great.
you're gonna be like, oh, like it feels like you're transported to Tokyo, and then like the whole like there's a daughter in the movie, and she's technically not his daughter, Rental Family, but like there's it's such an adorable, honest, like human movie. Like, did you watch Sing Sing?
Yes.
That's sort of like that DNA for me, which is like hard to get
Okay.
in a movie in the first place, but it's like we need more movies like that. So
I love Sing
man,
Sing.
yeah, it's one of my. I saw Coleman Domingo was here at festival. They didn't have the
Oh,
movie
nice,
all summer. They didn't have the movie, and then Coleman came here with the movie, and I was like, thank God, this is the best and perfect way to see this movie. And obviously,
nice,
straight balling during that movie. Love that, but not out of a
incredible.
bad way, not out of a sad way, but just out of like the human resilience. I'm like, this is humanity in a good way on screen. I'm like, we need more of this ASAP. I'm excited to see Train Dreams in a couple weeks. That's
So good,
Clint Bentley,
so good.
Greg Quadar. I mean, let's just say they're together. Clint directed this one, so I'm excited to see that.
It's incredible.
I hope. I mean, see, I'm not trying to psych myself up. I have no idea what the movie's about. Like Joel Edgerton, I'm like, I'm
Don't
already
you don't
there.
have to.
I'm already there. Joel Edgerton,
Yeah,
that's my
just
man.
go into it.
But I'll get into it. Dialogues. And
Yeah.
dialogues, the reason we have this title for dialogues is because when you watch Indian movies, Bollywood movies, it doesn't say screenplay. It says dialogues by, whoever it is.
Oh, interesting.
Because dialogue is so iconic to the point where we'll have like soundtrack CDs for movies and they'll have dialogues on there. People will memorize the dialogues for movies because the dialogues used to be that great in Bollywood movies where it's like I could tell someone like, oh, like Sholay, like kitne aadmi, like the bad guy. They have this shot of like his entrance where they're like you following his feet, and then we come out and like you see like the epic scope of like the bad guy, and it's just like a villain monologue, right? And it's one of the, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's that good. And we just call it dialogues. That's why we call it dialogues. I see all these titles, they have a little bit of like personal injection of like our creativity and our love for cinema in there. But what are the pieces of dialogue that affected you in this one? Because I think this is just one of the most hilarious movies possible, man.
Well, I already mentioned that Olivia Coleman line, but I think one other one. So one that I noticed this time around, I guess, because this is like I've only seen this movie maybe 3 times at this
Yeah.
point. And this is my third time, and I think with this one, there's some foreshadowing here. Like when Skinner comes up to him in the beginning, he's like, "I am a slasher of prices," but
My
he's
discounts are
literally a
criminal.
slasher. But he's literally a slasher. Also, my favorite like exchange in the like third act of the movie is when he throws the guy in the freezer, and then he's like, "Yeah, he's in the freezer," and he goes, "Did you say cool off?" And he's like, "No, I didn't say anything actually." There was a bit earlier that you missed where I distracted him with the cuddly monkey, and then I said, "Playtime's over," and I hit him with the peace lily, and he's like, "You're off the fucking chain." It's like so funny.
And I see that's the thing, right? We have the high tension going on of the action, but they have the little character moment in there too, right? We
Yeah.
live for those moments where it's like you need all of it. It takes less
Uh,
time, like literally in their day, it takes less time to do the dialogue scene than it does the action. And it's like the dialogue keeps you invested in the action itself.
I love, love, love the scene where they're pushing that shopping carts
Yeah.
to the butcher stand, and it's like the longest. It's like a comically long aisle, and they just keep pushing it and pushing
Yet
it.
again, Edgar used to work at one of those stores. That's why that store is specifically there. I think he said he
Oh
got
wow,
fired from it. And like his one cameo is like in the store or something where well, I think when the guy's like shoplifting or something. But yeah, he used to work at one of those stores. But there's so much dialogue in this movie, man. I think the one where it's in the culture, like the one I see every year, is when's your birthday? 22nd of February.
yeah,
When? Every year. It's like out.
yeah, yeah.
My favorite one from that scene when he asked the next kid, like with the glasses, like, when's your birthday? All he says is, I'm like, oh, I forgot. I was like, that's like, you don't even need dialogue. You just need to make a sound.
Also, that's another one of those scenes where it's so energetic, but
Yeah.
he's doing something so mundane.
Okay, real quick. I want you to guess how far into the movie is that? How many minutes into the movie?
The scene where he's carding the
Yeah,
kids, 18 minutes.
12 minutes. It's
Wow.
so fast. I'm like, bro's already picking up thugs within 12 minutes. I'm like, you've introduced him, you've introduced the story, and we're on to the action already within 12 minutes. And I was so I like
Yeah.
because I don't really look at the time of movies to like or like any detail about movies besides action movies, which is this is what action movie. So like we're doing this and I actually have to think about it and research. I'm like, oh, like we really are moving fast in this movie.
Did you know that at the beginning scene when he gets stabbed by Santa Claus
Yes.
in the flashback, that's Peter
Yes,
Jackson?
sir. And
Did
he
you
looks
know
the
that
camera.
did you know that in the scene later when he's talking to his ex and they are all wearing
Good
masks and
old
hazmat
Cate
suits, that's
Blanchett.
Cate Blanchett.
That's
Yeah.
you know what's funny? I just realized it. The only people with Oscars in this movie, one is Peter Jackson, but the other two are women. Olivia Coleman has an Oscar, Cate Blanchett has an Oscar, no one else has an Oscar, which is crazy.
Wow. That is
Where it's
actually
like the
crazy to
people
me.
with less than 2 or 3 minutes of screen time have all the Oscars. And rightfully
Yeah.
so. Like even Kate, like just from like looking at her eyes, I'm like, oh, that's Kate. I'm like, and you never forget.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is such a great cameo, and I think it was. I think the story is that she was just like she saw Shaun of the Dead. She's like, put me in something, and that's like the best thing you can do. Like, John
Yeah.
Cena's in Barbie. He was in London, and I think he was talking with somebody that's on that set, like working, and he was like, "Hey, can y'all talk to Greta? Like, I want to be in the movie. No, like, put me in any role. I want to be in the movie." And then he's, obviously a merman with Dua Lipa, which wasn't his,
Yeah.
he didn't even expect that. He was just like, "Put me in the movie. I love Greta. I love this thing. Like, come on." And
Yeah.
that's like, and obviously Edgar knew Peter Jackson, and that's why he's in the movie for 2 seconds, and it's hilarious. Joe Cornish is also in the movie. I think as like a crackhead or something. Joe Cornish is Edgar Wright's buddy. I don't think he gets enough credit. Have you seen it? I don't know if you've seen Attack the Block. He made a movie called the kid who would be
The
king.
kid who would be
Yeah,
king.
that's his movie.
Oh yeah.
And same producers, same sort of like creative team on Edgar's movies, his movies. They're really friends in a big way.
They're both very British,
And they
probably.
yeah, and they both worked with Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg on The Adventures of Tintin, which I
Yep.
hold out hope that we ever get a sequel, but I'm like, that
Yeah.
was the creative team of Joe, Edgar, Steven, and Peter Jackson. What a group of guys, to make a movie.
Yeah, really.
But
And that's an incredible movie.
yeah, I love Tintin. And that really is Spielberg being like, "Hey, y'all know I can cook, but let me cook even harder." Because there's a sequence in the movie where I think there's like a motorcycle chase scene, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen visuals like this. I'm like, holy crap, man! Because it's like a wonder
Yeah.
in the. Yeah. I digress.
It's
There's so
incredible.
much goodness, man. When it comes to like someone like Spielberg, some of these lines they're very much like the jokes. You like nobody tells me nothing. Pi Staker, piss taker.
Oh, I love that part.
But
I
the
love that
funny part
part.
for me now, like as the years have gone on, is that it's piss taker, and then it cuts to Stephen Merchant, and I'm like, I love this man. He's a great writer, director, actor, and I'm just like, he's just randomly in this movie yet again, just as a cameo.
It's incredible.
Obviously the Michael Lurch you're talking about, his iconic line of "Yarp."
Yep.
I literally to
That's
this
an
day I
iconic
don't
line.
know his name. I just call him Yarp.
I mean, that's the way you remember him, really, in this movie.
And we've got the lines of, like, shit just got real. Here comes the Fuzz. Skinner says it at the end. I'm like, finally, that's like the,
Yeah.
like they're saying the movie name sort of like here comes the Fuzz.
Almost. Yeah.
But my favorite line of the movie is, "You ain't seen Bad Boys 2?" Because that's literally me. Like, if I would be the guy to be like, "You haven't seen this movie? You haven't seen this movie? Oh my God, you got to watch it. This movie's awesome." And I would also be the guy, talk about like the physical media love in this movie where this
Oh
man
yeah,
opens
that's
up the
so
doors.
awesome.
It's the only time we have like yellow lighting in the movie. It's almost like godly. And he's like, "Oh, Point Break, Bad Boys 2." Is like, "Which one?" Is like, "No, we're watching both of these tonight." I was like, "Yes."
Which one? Which one first is the
I'm like,
question.
"Yes, this is exactly what we need in movies." And my favorite part about that scene is that when they're watching the movie, it's just on a regular TV. You ain't got some big TV, big screen, something like that. It doesn't matter what you're watching your cinema on. Like, I'm not saying to watch it on your phone, but like, just watch movies, like be excited, like zone in. And this is one of those movies where, like you said, this is the third, fourth time you've seen the movie, but it keeps giving back to you, right? Those are the movies you want to keep
Right.
watching. Like I want to, like I already rewatched Trap this year. I'm like, I'm probably gonna watch it again next year because I think there's something interesting about that. I kind of want to see if I pick up something else or feel something else about this movie. You know?
I mean, I've seen Trap 32
Oh my
times,
God.
and I picked something up on literally the 32nd
Jeez.
watch.
And that's the thing.
Like I
Sometimes you
picked up
watch
a
a
new
movie
thing.
and you're just like, I'm just watching it. And then other times you're like, I'm zoned in on this detail, or I'm zoned in on like, the cinematography, the acting, or
Oh
something
my
like
god,
that.
yeah. Tell me about it.
And
Tell me about it because like literally when I saw Trap, I saw it 20 times in theaters and for in the theater and even on my like when I was watching it on the fifth watch, I remember right when it ended, I turned to my friend and I was like, it's a different movie every time.
yeah,
I was like, I was like, this is insane. It's literally, it transforms and I focus on a different layer, a different detail, a different thread that the movie is following. And it's like, there's so many ways I could interpret that movie, whether it, in regards to social media masculinity, parenthood, a Hitchcock homage, all these different things. And that's why I've made like 20 videos about it, like straight up.
For me, it's like
Uh,
whenever a Blade Runner came out, Blade Runner 2049, 2017, I was I was in college at that point. I'm a little bit older than you, but I watched Blade Runner 2049 3 times within 4 days. So I watched it Thursday, Friday, and then I think Sunday. So I had like 1 day of break. But same thing where I'm like, I'm watching a movie 3 days, like almost 3 days in a row, back to back to back. But it never felt like I was like, you know, just it was a chore or something like that. I felt like I was still having such a great experience. I was a fan of, I still am a fan of Denny. And I was like, I just wanted to see that movie. And I had, that was the time of Movie Pass. We don't have AMC here, which is crazy. And I was just
yeah.
like, let me just see the crap out of this movie. And I did, and I loved it. And you want to find those movies where you can just rewatch them and find something from it. My most rewatched movie, maybe of this decade so far, is something like Mad Max Fury Road, Mission Possible 6. A lot of action movies where I'm like, I can turn on an action movie and just kind of zone out of the story, but zone into what's going on physically. And I have such a great time with it. And I think Trap is one of those movies where it's serious, but it's also unserious. So it's a very easy rewatch. And that's the thing about Hot Fuzz. It's serious, but it's also very unserious. So it's a very easy rewatch. And that's why I'm like,
Exactly.
oh, I haven't rewatched this movie in 5 years. Now it's back in in my repertoire rotation.
Yeah.
Like Collateral is a movie I rewatch almost every year. I can't tell you exactly why, but it's like there's just something compelling about that movie where I'm like, I have to watch it again. All the President's Men, Michael Clayton, just all sorts of random movies where I'm like, there's something about character, but there's also something about like the emotion behind it. So always worth rewatching movies. But I'll get on to the Layla. Actually, the song is from Goodfellas. Best needle dropper used to
Oh yeah.
score in Hot Fuzz. What is it for you?
For me, I honestly think that the one that sticks out the most is just the end credits needle drop of Caught by the Fuzz. I think it just
Yeah.
it just hits that perfect. It's like you feel like you've gone on a journey, you're excited, and kind of just makes me want to rewatch the movie like immediately.
And he whips
But
he whips the car, and then it just like it
right,
zooms out, like it runs off the screen.
right.
It starts playing.
It's so much, yeah, so much style. So like it's flashy, it's cool. Like I think it's a nice bow tie on the movie personally.
It's perfect. That's mine too, and I think they have a lot of great music and sound in the movie, but that's like fundamentally the hide you go out on. My other one,
Yeah.
actually, I did give a cheat because I knew it was gonna come. I knew the end credits was gonna be on one of y'all's. My cheat was the opening of the movie. That you come in with, obviously you hear like the sounds of like all these police sirens over the years, but mainly like the introduction to like Sergeant Nicholas Angel. And it took me so many years to realize, I was like, is that Martin Freeman doing that? And I'm like, oh no, it's just Simon Pegg doing the voice at the end of the movie, at the beginning of the movie, right?
No
That's him.
way.
That's literally just Simon Pegg running through like,
That's
Nicholas Angel's like career. But that's the thing, like the sound of like, and obviously the visuals of that beginning, that's like, it's like 2-3 minutes, but you lock into the character right away. And I think it's very rare that you watch a movie in 2-3 minutes, you understand who the character is, and then you're just dropped into the situation.
And you know what? That wouldn't work in every
No.
movie. The whole doing like a complete like a montage of exactly the character and just telling you about it kind of directly like that, it wouldn't work in every movie, but it does in this one because it fits the tone, and because that's the tone and the pace of this movie is just like that. And it's a complete work. And I think this is what makes me so upset about some of the ways that people I guess engage with movies online, because I mean I recently saw a video that where a guy was like, here's how you can tell, and he's saying this with all sincerity, like he's an authority on the matter. Here's how you can tell you're watching a bad movie: if there's a lot of exposition, if they're explaining to you what is going on, then you're watching a bad movie.
Okay, let's stand
No,
on business real
because
quick. This
yeah,
man, Christopher Nolan, has 45 minutes of exposition in Interstellar. It is some of the best work I've seen in my life. You know? everybody has exposition. It just depends on how they're feeding you, you know? Everybody's spoon
Right,
feeding you information, right? But are they spoon feeding
right.
you baby food? Are they spoon feeding you a soup? Is it gazpacho? Is it a cream of mushroom? Is it, is it literally vomit that they're putting in your mouth? It doesn't matter who it is or what they're giving you. It depends on how they do it. Are they making, are they doing a little airplane to get it in your mouth? It depends on what they're giving you, how they're giving it to you, and how you're feeling about it. Because this is literally a full exposition dump, right? And you're
Yeah.
like you're saying, it could be to his mind and standard. If you just put one standard on one thing, you're gonna say that this is bad. And that's the thing. You cannot put subjectivity like that harsh on any movie, period. I think that's just incredibly disrespectful.
The thing is, in the video gives an example that I actually agree with, and I thought it was a poor use of exposition. But in the case of something like Hot Fuzz and a lot of other movies, I think exposition, like you're saying, the delivery, the tonality, the way that it's executed, it really all depends on that, because everything is in a way there's always going to be some
You
exposition.
need
But
exposition, right? Like
yeah, but it can be
yeah.
invisible sometimes, and that's when I think it's best. But I
Or it could
think
be blatant.
what really
Mission Impossible.
yes,
What is their exposition? Literally, hello, Ethan Hunt. This is your mission. Should you choose to expect
exactly.
it, we have these expatriates that are blah 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 nonsense, right?
Right.
And the director is
Precisely.
literally in Fallout. He's literally doing that narration himself. And on top of that, he knows he's like, I know this is exposition. We need to tell you all this. We have no choice but to tell you this. And that's the tone that McQuarrie has about exposition. But he's like, you need it in order to have the fun, right? You need to
Right.
eat
So
your vegetables to have your dessert.
I think what the problem is when people take a checkbox, a checklist of things, or kind of like
Cookie
this
cutter.
idea of like this is what a good movie looks like, and then you throw that onto everything. That's not how movies work, man. They're different shapes, different tones, different things, different goals and intentions. Sometimes movies are not meant to just be entertaining and fun and exciting. Sometimes movies are meant to be sad. They're meant to upset you. They're meant to make a point. They're, you know,
Sometimes they pose questions that you
there's
don't answer, right? Sometimes I
right,
don't
right,
like those
exactly.
movies, but sometimes they're like the
Some
best movies.
Right. Sometimes movies are literally just a filmmaker trying to process something of themselves, and they're very personal. And not everyone's going to get it, and that's totally understandable. It would be a shame to try to make a one size fits all kind of checklist or expectation for every movie. You have to go into every movie like open like
Yeah.
this and be like, what are you going for? And try to kind of be curious about that. Because if you go in and you're like, oh, I know what makes a good movie and this doesn't fit the list, it's like that's not how it works. There's movies come in all sorts of different shapes and
It's like
sizes.
The Last Jedi. Or where first of all, where are you on The Last Jedi?
It's my favorite Star Wars
Okay.
movie.
So my only issue with that movie is Rose. Not because the
Mhm.
intention was bad, but I believe the execution wasn't good. But that being said, I think that Ryan swung for the fences with that character, with that storyline in a good way. And I respect that. I'd rather him go for the fences than, hit me with a bunt. I want
Yeah,
that.
because it almost is something you have to take with the rest of the movie, because if you enjoy a lot of his other big swings in that film, it's almost like you kind of have to take it all and be like, you know what, this is a combination. Some of these things don't work for me, some of these things do, but the stuff that works really
But
works,
that's the
maybe.
problem nowadays. People are worried about this or this. They're either going thumbs up or thumbs down. They don't understand that you know, as Del Toro was talking about it, life humans, we're not black and white. We're in grayscale. That we live in a full scale of like we have no idea what the mixture is. That in the morning we could
Yeah.
be the most lovely person, in the afternoon I'm in traffic, cursing at people, right? We're all the same person though, right? And a movie is the
We're
same
all
way.
capable. Yeah, we're all capable of incredible good and incredible bad,
Yeah.
right? So I think at any point, and we're constantly in motion. I think people are like a part of nature, so they're constantly in motion. And your choices, M Night says this, your choices are either to grow or to
Yeah.
shrink. You don't stay still, and so a lot of people choose to
Yep.
shrink.
They become the
So,
rock in the
and we all
water
need to,
rather than
yeah,
flowing
we
with
all
the
need to
water.
strive to, we all need to strive to try to grow as much as we can, because the way he described it, this is when he was talking about the villains in his movies, like Cooper from Trap, or Kevin from Split. This was during a Split Q&A this year, and he said basically that if something's too light, then it's cheesy, and if it's too dark, it's nihilistic, and life is a combination of those two things. So, for example, if he were directing a cheesy sports movie,
Yeah.
and the cheesy moment at the end where the guy scores the touchdown and everyone's cheering, and the guy's mom is like cheering for him because her son just scored the touchdown and they won the game, and that's a very cheesy kind of joyous moment. And he said, M. Night said, if I was directing that, here's what I would do is, I would tell the actress playing the mother, okay, and this is where you lose your son, right? Because he's going to go off and he's going to do all these great things, but your relationship is not going to be the same, because his life is going to become very big, and you're kind of losing him in a way, but you're also happy for him.
Yeah.
And so through that direction, the mom is going to evoke a more realistic human emotion, because not only is she excited that her son scored the touchdown, she's also letting go of something. And because he's directing the actor to perform it in that way, you won't even know it, but you will see that on the screen. You will see there is something that's going to ring truer about that combination of the positive and negative in the one single moment than it is just like, oh, I'm so excited. Then it's just cheesy, right? So that is what's so great about his films. And you see that in Trap 2. You see Josh Hartnett's character, like, on his face, he's like struggling to keep, like, he's feeling for his daughter for the first time, and he's realizing how much he cares about her, because he's in this situation where he doesn't he can't choose one or the other. And he
has to make a
realizes that
choice.
he has to make a choice, and he realizes that he's not willing to sacrifice the view his daughter has of him, which is precious to him. He's realizing it's precious to him, and that's scary, because that weakens his ability to perform and be fake and get through all of these situations. And so you're seeing him actively either choose to embrace that feeling or choose to reject it, and you can see it on his face constantly. So there is such a combination. It's like he's not just the menacing serial killer. So many people have said, "Oh, I wish he was just full serial killer and he didn't feel emotion and his family was just a front." And I'm like, where's the story in that? This character is so dynamic because
that's the
that's
problem.
the whole movie. That's the whole
people
movie.
want cookie cutter nonsense.
So we're gonna do an episode on Trap.
We're gonna do an episode on Trap. We'll do an episode on Trap at some point. Okay, but I do have a question for you. You know who should have been in this movie? Come on, let's recast the role in Hot Fuzz. Who would you put in this movie? Who did you recast?
Okay, I think I'm a genius for this.
Okay, I want to hear it.
So I wanted to stay British with this, because I thought it's so inseparably British, this movie, that I couldn't even try to. You would have to reinvent the movie to put, I think, an American actor in a significant role, or any other actor rather. So, okay, right. So I think the role of Simon Skinner, recast, and let me explain this, recast him as Daniel Craig. Because that's two Bonds. They're both Bonds. So it's another Bond taking that role. And Daniel Craig plays Benoit Blanc, right? So it would be cool to see him. It would be cool to see him playing a murder suspect instead of a murder detective. So that is why I chose Daniel Craig.
That's fantastic.
And I think he has the suaveness to him too, and he can do the comedy. Have you seen Logan Lucky?
Bro,
he's so funny.
One of my favorite movies is Logan Lucky.
I agree.
Because the fact is that I love the Oceans, like Oceans 11, 12, 13 growing up, and I've seen Oceans 11 literally 50 plus times. In my house, if you turn on Oceans 11, they're gonna be like, "Why are you putting on Oceans 11?" We'll complain, and then we all sit down and watch Ocean's 11 because it's that
I love
good.
Ocean's 11.
But like, we love those movies so much. And Logan Lucky, real quick, is one of the perfect studies of like, how does a filmmaker get better every time? And the conciseness that he uses in Logan Lucky as a director, as a DP, as an editor is something to study. But watch Logan Lucky if you haven't. That's one of those movies where I'm like, I need to do a pod on it, but I don't have anybody to do it with. that sort of thing. Hey, there we go. We're doing
But yes,
Logan Lucky coming on the pod.
Logan Lucky trap episode.
I'm being a bad influence. I'm being a positive
If you
influence,
did,
but a bad influence.
I'm not even gonna lie. I said this to Marley too. I was like, if you do a trap episode and you don't invite me on it, I'm offended.
Yes.
I actually am offended because that would be crazy.
It's like, but see, that's the thing. Like when we do this, I don't want anybody to be on the pod in the sense that like I don't need some random person to like puzzle in. I literally went to my letterbox and I was like, hey, who is a fan of like 5 stars across the board on Hot Fuzz? And I saw your name and I was like, oh, perfect. I was like, hey, Marley, you think Peyton would be down for this? He's like, yes, he will. I'm like, and then I messaged you after that. Because I was like, this is like, I need someone who's passionate about it to be able to do this, because this is not like some random like uptaking, right? Like it takes a little bit of work to do this, and I respect people's time. I like expect the same respect in exchange, that sort of thing. So yeah, who else you got for recasting? I love Daniel Craig.
I honestly struggled with the rest of this,
I mean,
but
that's
I don't know what role I would put him in, but I kind of would love to see maybe as one of the other, I guess, townspeople or cops. I would love to see Pattinson in this movie. Robert Pattinson, another British actor.
Robert. Okay, let me. I'm trying to think where I'd place him, because I will
thinking
place
like
him
I'm
somewhere.
thinking like those.
He'd be the
I'm
Andy.
thinking like those two. What's that?
He'd be one of the Andys. Yes.
Right. Yes, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. I was like, who would be the other one?
The other one would have to be, I mean,
Tom Hardy.
ooh, they would be hilarious together, because they're both serious, but
Yeah.
they're both unserious people in a good way.
Yeah.
So that would be awesome. Okay, I will run through mine with no breath. I'm going to go through all of it, and then I'm going to ask for thoughts, because it's a lot.
Okay, you have a lot.
I didn't mean. See, my problem is that even when I'm like, I'm on like Pat's podcast and we're like sitting there watching a movie, my brain starts to move. I'm like, who would be good in this movie? Like, I just start to recast for no reason. Let's just talk about the cast real quick. This cast is insanely stacked.
It's the who's
like,
who of like British men.
In the first 5 minutes, you have Steve Coogan, Martin Freeman, and Bill Nighy show up out of nowhere, and I'm like, and Cate Blanchett. 4 people, and I'm like, these,
and Peter Jackson,
and 5 people, and Peter Jackson. Bill Nighy, I forgot he has an Oscar nom at least for a living, but what a legend of an actor. But yeah, that's the level of cast we're talking about. And the NWA, which I love the name, shout out the real NWA. But Edgar Wright was like, yeah, we cast a bunch of typical villain actors to play the NWA. So it's like the British will probably know what's going on, but the Americans have no idea. I didn't have any idea. I mean, besides awesome. The priest who's Raiders, he's the bad guy in Raiders. Besides that, it's like, yeah. I mean, I didn't really recognize anyone at first till I started watching other stuff. But I did make an American version of it. I'm not gonna go with any logic about it, but I did. So, have you seen Atlanta, the show?
A little bit, just a little bit.
So, Lakeith Stanfield, who, I mean, he's in other stuff. Sorry to bother you. He's in Get.
Yeah.
Be my lead. Yeah. Where he's like, you wouldn't expect him to be in this role. He is funny, but you would not expect him to be in a role like this. So I put him there, and I needed someone. I thought of like Stavros and a couple other people for like Danny, and I could not think of anybody. Yeah. And then I was like, wait. Like Brian Tyree Henry is right there, like the Atlanta thing. And I was like, okay, these are my 2 guys. Yeah. And I love them together in that show. And I think it's like unbelievably like David Lynch juxtaposed with like wholesome vibes and funny vibes in that show. I love it. But yeah, I went with those 2 as the leads. The Andys, Roy Wood Jr., one of my like favorite funny guys out there. Him and Bo Burnham. Both of them are like incredibly intelligent and incredibly funny. And both Andys are incredibly unintelligent. And I'm like, I don't know. I would just think that the casting would be hilarious. The twin cops at the desk, Bo and Yang from SNL.
Yes.
He would be that. Just give him 5 minutes in the movie. I think he's insanely funny. He'd be awesome. Do you watch Abbott Elementary?
No.
Okay, well, there's a actress on there. She plays the principal. She is unbelievably hilarious. Janelle James. She would play the Olivia Coleman role of the one woman,
Nice.
and she has that same level of like, you don't have too much time with her, but like once you see her, you know her. Like she has such a star presence, and she'd be
Yeah.
perfect for that role. There's an older cop with glasses. That would be Shea Wiggum, who is the guy that's chasing Tom Cruise.
Love Shea
Shea's
Wiggum.
amazing. The guy who's playing Brian Tyree Henry's dad, so Danny's dad, the chief, it would be Delroy Lindo, one of my favorite actors. He was just
Amazing.
in Sinners this year.
Sinners.
I love that
Yeah.
man. I talk about it yet again. That Defy Bloods, he should have had an Oscar and win for that, because he's legitimately playing one of the great characters of our time, but he's also giving such a amazing performance in that. Last but not least, for the cops, Al Pacino. Al Pacino as the murmuring cop. The cop like who's like,
Wow.
oh, blah, 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 blah. Just imagine
Yeah,
Al Pacino
that's
randomly
perfect.
playing that.
That's perfect.
That's okay. So the NWA. I was like, oh, typical villain roles for actors. I have like 12 actors. I swear to God, I didn't mean to do this, but last night when we were talking, I was just like, I got to do this. First of all, the priest is going to be played by Willem Dafoe. Perfect. And the guy on the cameras, that's going to be Anthony Hopkins. Literally,
Perfect.
Hans, or not Hans Gruber. Geez, actually, see, if Alan Rickman was alive, he'd be in this movie for me. Just one of my favorite actors. Anthony Hopkins. If you've seen Lost, Michael Emerson, he's in a show I like called Person of Interest. Him and his wife would be the bar folks. She's also got a show called Elsbeth. She's hilarious. John Lithgow would be the florist. That'd be like a gender swap, but like he'd be the florist. He'd be awesome.
Nice.
Angelica Houston would be the woman at the inn. Kathy Bates would also be there. She'd be one of the women. She'd be the woman on the on the bike shooting the guns. Kathy Bates
Yes.
doesn't get enough credit in general, but like she's like Misery, like the villain role is insanely great. I think she would be in it. Donald Sutherland, who has passed, he'd be in mine. Do you know who Peter Stormare is? He's
I've heard
have you
that
seen
name.
Bad Boys 2?
Yeah.
He is the Russian guy in that. He's
Oh,
the
okay.
Russian guy at the beginning of John Wick 2. That when he goes to get
Oh,
his
okay.
car, and he's like,
Yes.
he's like Baba Yaga, like scared of him while he like murders 20 people.
Yes.
That's Peter. He's a consummate character actor, villain actor. He would be that. He'd probably play like the doctor. The youngest person I
Perfect.
had for like the NWA was Javier Bardem, because I feel like he's an iconic villain between like Skyfall and Anton Chigurh, like No Country for Old Men. Last but not
Right.
least, Skinner, Vincent D'Onofrio. I th- I think Vincent,
Ooh, that's a
he's one
good
of my
one.
favorite actors. He's just great character actor, and I'm like, we've seen him as Kingpin now, and I'm like, he's the businessman who's also he's obviously the killer, right? He's obviously the killer, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a lot of casting. I didn't mean to do it, but it did happen.
You did a great job, and you stuck with like the villain roles and everything. I think you did a fantastic job with
I've
that.
never casted that many people in a movie ever, and I was just like, oh, like let like the faucet is open, just let it flow. That's what I did.
Like the ensemble. Yeah,
Oh man, what do you think?
that was great. That was great. Everything felt like relatively, I guess,
Because it's
like
hard to
I could
figure it out for
see
you
all
could
of it.
do it for like a small town or something in America. I think you could. I think there's a genius to also adapting it here, but you would have to put in a lot of effort to do it though. Alrighty. So box takes, but I think we're gonna call it the Apple Box takes today. A little Apple Box Chronicles, joint
Yes,
take today. So for me, my soapbox is pretty small, but kind of big at the same time today, or the Apple Box. And it is the fact that I want more movies like Hot Fuzz, in the sense that I like movies that are undeniably the DNA of a specific place, a specific culture at a
yeah,
specific time. There's a movie, Moonstruck, that I have fallen in love with recently. It's literally sitting on my letterbox top 4 right now, actually.
it's great.
But it's literally it's the story of an Italian American neighborhood and this story of this woman and love and everything else, but it feels so much of that culture. And this movie, it's got like I'm a sucker for all the elements of the cop stuff and all that, but I love it just as much because it's so undeniably British. And it feels like British culture. Like you watch Shaun of the Dead, it feels like British culture. Same thing with World's End, it feels like British culture. And Edgar wanted to take this movie and like the Bobbies, like the British cops, they don't really have much to do. They don't even carry
Yeah.
guns in a sense, right? And he was like, we don't have a cop movie, we don't have a good one, and it's like I just want to do that for my for the cops here. It's a good idea in the
Yes.
first place, and you make a movie with all these edits and cars whipping around and them shooting guns and all this, and it's like he did all that, but he did it incredibly detailed as to this feeling undeniably British, and that's what makes this movie for me. And I would hope that people make more movies like this, meaning that people do make movies like that, but I falter in my feelings about them. Like a lot of South Asians are making movies now, and that's a good thing. But I also disagree with their takes at times, probably because I am of the culture. So, I mean, there are certain movies where there's a movie called Four Samosas, where it's literally like shot like a Wes Anderson movie in a good way, and the stakes are not real, they're not crazy even though they're serious in the movie, but it's such a fun time, and I'd rather have that than the conventional stuff that we're getting nowadays. So make more movies that are of culture, that's all. It doesn't matter what culture, just
Yeah.
make it of culture because we severely need
Yeah. And
culture in movies, because there's no culture in Fantastic Four. I don't know what culture you're pulling from
Yeah,
there,
as
brother.
as much as I love your recasting too, I think that it is important, this movie being British, like, as the way it is.
Yeah, but you could tell what I
Right,
did with the movie, right?
right.
That I'm like, there's a whole conversation where I'm like, you have black
Yep,
cops, and there's something about that in
yep.
America. There's a conversation to be
Yeah,
had there. That's why I was like, if I do one, I'm doing them all, because like for me, it's hard to find like actors in general with a lot of swagger nowadays that are like white actors, frankly. There's a lot of casting I'll do where I'm like, only if I could do this today, I have a much better actor today than I would back
yeah,
then or something like that. It
for sure.
happens a lot because it's like there's some actors today where they have a timelessness to them. Did you watch The Long
Mhm.
Walk? Alien Romulus, David Johnson. Like you have rare talents like that where you see them, you're like, oh, brother's getting
Watch
an Oscar. Like
Rye
that's just like
Lane.
that's one of the best. Rye Lane,
Yeah,
amazing work. That's
yeah,
that's where I
yeah.
found him
That dude
first.
is incredible.
If y'all haven't seen Rye Lane, 2023, yet again, British movie, small movie, intimate movie, and I think it's one of our best romance movies we've had in recent years, also. So definitely check out Rye Lane too, because it's fire. But see, once you see him, you're like, oh, this guy is like one of one. We need more actors like this. So, and Long Walk, I was like, he's technically the star of this movie. Like Hoffman is good, but I think David's a little bit better.
David is
Oh man.
incredible. Literally, I literally leaned over to my buddy watching that movie, and I was like, he's like Daniel Day Lewis to me.
Yeah. He's because the thing is actors do a lot of acting sometimes, and what he's doing is existing. And if for people who know acting, they know exactly what I mean, because you can have a Jared Leto who acts a
Yeah,
lot, you know? But is that really good acting? I don't know about that. I think he's good at some stuff, but I don't think he's always
yeah.
good. But I'll get into the Oscars, man. 2007 might arguably be one of the best movie years of all time. I will take a couple seconds just to name some movies. And I went down this, I was like, oh, I'll name like 5, 10 movies. The list is a little bit longer. There Will Be Blood, Michael Clayton, No Country for Old Men. I was just talking about Billy Ray, Breach, Assassination of Jesse James, In the Valley of Elah. If you haven't seen that movie, it is In the Valley of Elah, Assassination of Jesse James, and No Country for Old Men. That is Roger Deakins shooting 3 movies in a year, and all he did great work in all of them. Eastern Promises, fantastic. Sweeney Todd, Charlie Wilson's War. I think that's Mike Nichols' last movie. Into the Wild, I'm Not There. Juno. That's Jason Reitman's. I think he got an Oscar nom for that
It
too.
won
That's
screenplay, I believe.
for
Diablo Cody.
Diablo
Yes.
Cody. And Lars and the Real Girl,
Craig, Craig
Ryan
Gillespie.
Gosling. Transformers came out this year. Born Ultimatum, Enchanted. Have you seen August
No,
Rush?
I
Low key,
haven't.
I really like that movie. 310 to Yuma, James Mangold. Ratatouille, American Gangster, Gone Baby Gone, Atonement. Like there, like every single genre of movie, you have something there. And I think Hot Fuzz kind of adds for the comedy the most out of all
Yes.
these movies. But such a stacked year of movies. And I mean, what do you think about the Oscars this year? Do you think this movie deserved any
I
Oscars? What do you
think
think?
the two categories I think it definitely deserved. Didn't get any nominations, which is a shame, but editing, I think
Stacked year.
editing for sure. And I think
Yeah.
screenplay actually, because the comedy, the way that everything holds a purpose in this movie. I mean, even from the very beginning, you get the idea of Nick Frost's character. He drives drunk, and then they're like, "Oh, he has to buy us ice cream for that or something." It's
Yeah.
the inverse. Like the major crime he committed, they're like giving him a slap on the wrist for it. But then all of these minor things, they're killing people over. So you see
Yeah.
immediately their priorities are messed up, like from the get go. So there's
Yep.
a lot of things like that that just play into it, and I just think it is just such a complete movie that is constantly introducing things and bringing, like, even the joke Aaron A. Aronson. They're like, let's call the whole phone book. Do you want us to
I
call
forgot.
Aaron A. Aronson? And then at the end, he meets the kid, and he's like, I'm Aaron A. Aronson.
I'm on my
Yeah,
nerds. Oh man, it's such a great callback too because it's like it happens at such a serious moment where it's like it's the right amount of
yeah,
levity you want. That if you're paying
yeah.
attention, it pays off. Unless you don't pay attention and you're on your phone or something, which I never do when I'm watching a movie. But like, you know, you're like, oh, like why is this kid's name Aaron A. Aronson? I don't know. But I agree. I did writing for Simon Edgar and then editing, but I will also add sound because the sound in this movie, if you just watch the movie, if you watch the movie visually, you'll still get this movie. But I think the sound editing and the sound mixing on this movie is impeccable. The amount of work that they do to like inject energy into the sound in this movie is ungodly. Like there's no like people don't do this enough in a sense. And I think, I think foreign cinema, like Bollywood cinemas, things like that, they do it more. They use sound a lot more. But this right here, this is one of those movies where I'm like, oh, this is a perfect use of sound and the injection of just tension, or if it's, action or whatever it is, you feel the emotion of every scene properly because of the sound, not just because of the score or the music, but the sound specifically. And like I told you, we talked about a lot of the like the little edits and things like that, the record scratch, and you're adding to it and you're building up a movie rather than
It's
tearing it down, or not just like tearing it down in the sense that like if you don't have it in there, it might not make a difference, but it definitely makes a difference to elevate the movie that you do have
it
the
is
sound in there because it's
it's like
adding the umph.
invisible. It's like seamless. It adds it, and
Yeah.
it's playing to the subconscious of the audience. So
Yes.
yeah,
100%. And that's something you need with the editing does that, but the sound also does just
yeah.
that same thing. So they definitely deserved at least nominations. I'm not going to argue anything about wins
It's too stacked.
because it's just such a
Yeah,
stacked year. When I'd have to literally go rewatch like There Will Be
yeah.
Blood and No Country for Old Men, crack open the 4K, and be like, "Yo, what's the conversation here?" I will say, out of all these movies, my most rewatched movies on this list: Transformers, just because I had the DVD, Born Ultimatum, and Hot Fuzz. And that's kind of funny because they're all
Yeah,
action
technically.
movies. I mean, I love action movies, but like this, I mean, Born Ultimatum is like legitimately one of the best
It's
ones
great.
too. That one never gets old. Transformers, on the other hand, I'm scared to rewatch. I don't think that one's gonna hold up. Okay, but it has been quite a number of years since this movie. We're gonna be coming up on 20 years in
Mhm.
what, 2 years? Not even 2 years. Let's say a year because it's almost
Yeah.
2026 as it is. But the legacy for this movie, through the prism of time, we've had plenty of time to think about this movie. But what pops out for you, whether it's someone behind the camera, in front of the camera, like what do you think the legacy
So
is here?
I think the legacy of Simon Pegg in particular has really taken off. I mean,
Yeah.
he's in Mission Impossible. He's in the
Star
Boys,
Trek.
Star Trek. You know, we're seeing him in a
Mm.
lot of things, and he's worked with Spielberg twice, and he's in Tintin, and he's in what's
Oh
the other one
yeah.
he's in? Oh, don't let me blank on this now. Ready Player One. That's the one. Yes.
Oh yeah. I
And
forgot about.
and he's in Star Wars: The Force Awakens as Unkar Plutt. So a lot of
Yeah.
he's just made his way in there. Nick Frost's done pretty well too. Nick Frost has he wrote a movie last year called Getaway that I thought was really good. And
Yeah.
also
I haven't seen it,
and
but I know what you're talking
also
about. Have you seen
no, I
Paul?
haven't seen Paul. I have Paul on Blu-ray.
Paul's
And
a fun
and
one. Yeah,
and
it's fun.
he's also in How to Train Your Dragon. But I really want to talk about the legacy of Edgar Wright a little bit for a second because Edgar Wright is a pretty beloved director, I think, and especially with these films and Scott Pilgrim and Baby Driver. But with his last two movies, or I guess his last movie and the one that's coming out this week, I feel like people have kind of soured on Edgar Wright. I feel like Last Night in Soho, not was kind of divisive. A lot of people didn't love it. I didn't really love it. I liked it. I thought it was good. Um, but and Running Man, I feel is going to be divisive. I feel like it already is a little bit, and I think
Yeah, no, I checked the reviews this morning. It was not
yeah,
what I expected, and it is sitting at a 55 on
wow,
Metacritic, meaning that it is a mixed review. Metacritic is the one that I use because Rotten Tomatoes is skewed, but like the critic number, like the rating that's averaged for itself, literally, like the numbers
right,
Metacritic does that. So that's like an objective view of like where people are on it. Me, I'm like, I don't care. I'm just gonna like it's Edgar
right,
Wright, like he brother delivers. I'm not
yeah.
worried about it, but like, yeah, people
But
are mixed about
I
it.
think I think he's great. I love what he did with the Running Man, and I think that I really don't think he's because some people are saying he's washed and like, oh, there's no he's not in the Running Man. You don't really see his style in there. And I guess I might just be an optimist, but I really do think he's just too smart to like have a movie that feels that diluted on accident. I feel like he's doing it on purpose. I feel like there is an
There's an intention
intention
there, and you're
and it
right.
is
You're
textual
right.
to what the movie is doing and the story that's being told. And when you're I think he is a good enough director to have the direction and the tone and the way the energy of the movie match what the movie is and the story of the movie. And so I think if The Running Man is about a man with
I think people don't understand that Running Man wasn't exactly some hoity-toity, you know, art film or something like that in the 80s, like Running Man was just like an Arnold
right,
vehicle back then. And it was like obviously a Stephen King thing, but it wasn't like leaned into the themes as much as I assume that Edgar is probably going to lean into them, right? So it's like you have to, like I said, you have to have the fun, but you also have to have the serious elements. And a part of that probably will be that he's pulling back the style so you're
right.
listening, right? He
I
wants
think
you to
that is
listen.
very, very intentional. Whether it works for you or not is completely up to you. But I just think people are doubting, I guess, his intention behind some of his films nowadays. But I mean, he does. I really think no matter what, he's always going to have a legacy of the Cornetto trilogy and Scott Pilgrim, and I think Baby Driver in there too. I think most people really really loved that movie. It's just tarnished a little bit
See, the
by
thing
the
is,
people involved.
yeah, by the two people, yeah, it sucks. But I think the thing is fundamentally that people don't understand that you can't expect the same thing from somebody, especially an
Yeah,
artist. You know, like if you talk about, let's say, Alfonso Cuarón, the man's never made a movie the same in any. I mean, maybe if you you could maybe draw some juxtapositions to like Children of Men and Roma and Y Tu Mama Tambien. But even then, his movies are vastly different. And Edgar is at a point, I think he's 50 now. And yes, he's made a lot of great movies, but like Last Night in Soho, I don't think that movie didn't work because the intention was not there, you know? I think the story is where the issue was. It wasn't the
And I think
filmmaking.
that a lot of people weren't really attuned to the Giallo influence on that movie, and myself
Yeah,
included.
100%.
When I saw it, I did not understand what he was going for with that. I didn't know what the hell Giallo was even 4 years ago. So I need to go back.
But you see the influence in
Yeah,
Hot Fuzz. I
there
think
is
the influence
influence
is
here.
there.
I even
Like I
said
said,
that when I rewatched it
I was
yesterday.
like, I didn't I didn't realize. I was like there's a lot of horror in this movie. I didn't realize it because it horror doesn't like it rolls off my skin at times, when it comes to horror specifically. But this time I was a bit tuned. I was obviously tuned in because we're doing this, and I was like, oh, I see it, and it's obvious. Like, did you watch
I love
*Malignant*?
*Malignant* so much.
*Malignant* has the same level of like homage to like a Dario Argento
Absolutely.
Giallo movie, in my opinion. And I don't like to say hate, but I have a discontent with slasher movies. Meaning that's why I don't like
Mhm.
Halloween Ends. I don't like the other two movies either. I like the first one and none of the rest because it's just not my thing. You know, it's
Mhm.
just not my thing. But once in a while, you'll have a movie like a Halloween, like a *Malignant*, like something like this, like *Last Night Soho*, where it impresses me. There's something else going on there. Like one of the things about *Malignant*, *Invisible Man*, 2021, Lee Whannell's, *Last Night in Soho*, the villain is a
Yeah.
man. That's the theme, and I think it's something where I'm like, oh, I'd like to make one of these movies, and I think there's something compelling about that, about the masculinity of the villainous. And I mean, I don't know if people landed the plane on that also when it comes to the reveal at the end of the
Yeah.
movie, right? As to who the villain
Yeah.
actually is. This is making me want to
Me
rewatch *Last Night
too. Me
Soho*,
too.
honestly, because it's one of those things where it's like it's not like I had a bad time with it. It's just maybe I didn't get it the first time. And that's the thing about movies is that you might not get the oomph the first time. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you got to recognize, like, hey, I had a bad day. Maybe this was too much movie for me in the
Right.
first place. Maybe it's something
Right.
else. But time is the
Right.
truth teller, truly, right? And the time, in 20 years, I hope that people still give Edgar Wright money to make movies because he is doing something that majority of people can't do. I don't think the filmmaking prowess that he has, I don't think a lot of other people have it. Someone like Denis will go to Sicario, and that script is not great, but he elevates it into a great movie. And and there's elements behind, who you put in the movie, how you make the movie, what you're doing. And some people don't see the vision of that. And Edgar Wright is one of those people with a vision. So I will always root for the guy. I always hope that he's employed because I'm a fan for
Yeah.
life, honestly. He'd have to make something. He'd literally have to make a Now You See Me 3 for me for me to be like, no,
Yeah.
I'm done with it. And no hate to Now You See Me 3. I'm still probably gonna watch it when it comes out at home because I like Dominic Sessa and I like all those actors, right? It just seems like a fun time. But it sounds like they didn't have a fun
I,
time doing the movie. Like the
I'm
movie's not
seeing it
fun.
for Dominic
So
Sessa. I'm gonna go see it.
I
Yeah.
love that kid. Holdovers it's in the
Oh yeah,
rotation now
for
for
sure. And Wonka.
Christmas,
Come on.
which for me it's like it's very hard to get a movie into the Christmas rotation. I need a specific type of good movie. But Holdovers is one of them. Go check out Holdovers
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
haven't, man. It's like people out there like such a great movie. Anyone else for legacies for you?
I think Olivia Coleman has had,
Yeah.
even
Olivia,
recently, so
Cate,
much. Cate
yeah.
Blanchett. Yeah, exactly.
But like Olivia in like a almost a skyrocket way because I think in 2019 when The Favorite came out, people finally respected her as an
Yeah.
actor in America at least. And she has always been awesome. I think she's lovely. I think she doesn't get enough respect. She had the Roses this year
Benedict.
with Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm excited to watch that purely just for her. I mean I love Benedict too, but like it's not usually my thing. But I'm like, oh, this sounds like a
It was
good
solid.
amount of fun.
It was
So
solid. I liked
I'm
it.
I'm excited to see that. But only one I have to add to that, I already talked about Jess Hall, who just did like Fantastic Four, but I'd say the producers, Nira Park, Tim Bellin, Eric Fellner, Nira Park, and then the two guys at Working Title, I think is the name of the production company. They have a bunch of Oscars at this point, but anytime I see their names specifically, so like let's say it's like a Joe Cornish movie, they're probably producing it, right? Anytime I see their names, I'm like, oh, I need to watch this because they know what they're doing. They're always backing up some pretty great artists. So I'm always excited to see what they do all these years. I'm like, oh, they're doing it. Okay, I'm excited
Yeah,
for that then. And that's the thing. Is like producers are like shepherds of creativity, right? They're trying to put things together and like shepherd it into some sort of like, you know, existence. And it's either you're doing it to make money or you're trying to do it for something else, you know. But that being said, like KD says, you the MVP, mom. Who is the MVP for
so
this movie? Who put the team on the back?
I
Got this
mean,
movie done? Who is the MVP or the
obviously, okay, let's
MVPs?
get it out of the way. Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, the whole cast. Simon Pegg co-writing the movie, doing a great job. But I want to highlight one individual that we haven't talked about, and that's actually is not only is the music in the movie good, as we already touched on, the music supervisor. Do you know what his name is? Nick Angel. He's the namesake for the main character. Yeah, so they liked his
Nicholas
name, I think,
Angel.
and they just were like, "Cool, that's the main character's name." Yeah,
That's awesome. Because I was like, wait, is it like Nick? Is it Nicholas
them.
because of Nick Frost? I don't know,
Yeah,
but
so
there
that's
you
why I
go.
wanted
You
to
answered my
highlight him
question.
because we wouldn't. Yeah, we would. The main character's name
That's
wouldn't be that
awesome.
without him.
Mine is obviously it's Edgar and Simon. Not I mean, obviously they're there the entire way through, but it
Yeah,
is them for the writing that the fact that they were like, oh, we can the next movie in this trilogy can be this, and we can create something with this in the format that it is created within, where it is a transcendent. It's a comedy, it's an action, it's a lot of things in a good way. And I think a lot of my favorite movies are a lot of things in more than one way. Like Back to the Future is not just a time travel movie, right? It's a bunch of different genres. Like T2 is not just a science fiction movie, it's an action movie, it's a horror movie for me. There's a lot of elements there. So the writing itself is the MVP for me. And obviously, Edgar and Simon and like you said, everybody else in between that really creatively put some effort forth that we have a creative movie on all ends, visually, sonically. So I love this movie, man. I like legitimately, this is one of my favorite movies. And you have to watch this movie to know something about me that I love movies that are of genre but that they also are, they're doing a little bit more than you might expect. And I think that's something where I noticed it even as like a 14, 15-year old watching this. I still notice that they're doing something that's not the norm. And we always need something that's doing not the norm, whether it works or doesn't work. That's for time to tell. But I would love bold swings like this more. Do you have any
I
companion
I
movies for
I put
this?
down. So I mentioned it earlier in the episode, but I put down Midnight Run for this. Because I think Midnight Run is a pretty good
Yeah.
example of the character dynamic where one of them is so kind of serious and by the book, and the other one is kind of a little more lax and like
Yeah.
it is kind of an interesting yin and yang because it's not exactly the same. In Midnight Run, it's a cop and someone he's capturing, and it's not
Yeah. Kidnap not kid I wouldn't say
yeah.
kidnappee, but he
So
acts like a
so
kidnappee.
it's more like but what's ironic is that the man he's holding is more like kind of a straight shooter than he is. And then in this movie
Yeah.
Nick Angel is more of a straight shooter than Danny. Danny's also a cop though, and
Yeah.
he's I guess just a little, you could say he's, I don't want to say he's stupid because he's not. It's like he's just a little he's too
He's
used to the
inexperienced.
the way the
He
town
has
is, so
like
he's kind of lax. And he's got a
yeah.
different idea of how things work. But them two together are kind of able to make something better. And so I think the way these characters teach each other is rather similar. So that's a movie that I put for this
Yeah.
one.
For me, I mean, the only one I really put, I mean, obviously, watch the trilogy. I think the Cornetto trilogy, as much as I love it and much as I have thought about it, since it came out and since it was coming out, just as, being in high school, I don't think it gets enough credit because it's a great blueprint of like, I would hope that people would watch this at, 10, 11, 12 years old, even though they shouldn't low key
Yeah,
watch it. That's the perfect time to watch it because the stakes aren't like the end. The stakes kind of feel like the end of the world, but they're not the end of the world. And there's a lot to learn
yeah,
about film itself with this. And one of the things is like you might not pick it up right now, right? But it's like because they've referenced it in this movie, you might go back and watch the movie they referenced. And I love that sort of thing. I watched a lot of The Simpsons growing up, and then I wouldn't know like the references to like 2001 and Cape Fear and all these The Shining. They call it the Shinin in the Simpsons, but it's like it makes you go back and watch the movies you should be watching. And it's like artists putting people on game, and I love that. But Rush Hour, 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon's a big one. The Nice Guys, which is actually coming on the pod. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, uh, Thelma Louise. But the biggest one for me was rewatch Hot Fuzz with the Tarantino and Edgar Wright commentary. Because Tarantino himself might reference like I wouldn't say 1,000 movies, but at least like 100 movies during that conversation. And I think it's just a great commentary in general. So yeah, definitely watch that. Like rewatch the movie with that, and you'll have like a good experience of like if you like Tarantino. Some people think he's too much. I don't think he is, but definitely check it out. You haven't. I assume you
there's
haven't seen it
like
with
on
either
my
commentary, right?
Blu-ray,
The Edgar Wright Simon Pegg one.
there's 5 commentaries. It's
Yeah,
insane.
there's a lot. Meaning
Yep,
it's a different movie
exactly.
every time. I love see that's what I mean. I love that they did the commentaries. The fact is that nowadays they don't like they made Mank. Netflix made Mank and for David Fincher. And David Fincher's commentaries are glorious. They're legendary to me. And I'm like, wait, where's the commentary though? Like Ryan Johnson literally, I think he recorded his own for his for like Knives Out or Looper, I think it was, and he's just
Yeah,
like, just watch
yeah.
the
Put it in
movie
your
with
headphones.
this,
Yeah,
like just do it, like it's on his website. So, I mean, I love that sort of stuff. And it's just, it's good to get a perspective on that end of things where it's like you don't have to get every detail, but like they'll find something interesting to share with you. So I think it's like a wholesome thing to listen to commentaries. Especially with people who want to be there. You'll have someone like Ben Affleck doing a commentary for Armageddon, just dunking on the movie. That's a different situation. But yeah, that's Hot Fuzz. We love Hot Fuzz. Apparently, we love trap a little
yeah.
bit more, though, right? See, your trap is my
Okay,
trap is Hot Fuzz. Like Mad Max Fury Road, The Dark Knight. Like those are my traps. Those are the movies I think about a lot. They're the movies that have affected me. They're the movies I
fair
keep
enough.
coming back to in a big way. And that's the thing. I'm fascinated with perspective. I think we should all be fascinated with perspectives, especially perspectives on art if they're positive at least, in the sense that like not saying that you shouldn't have like criticism, but your criticism should be just as informative than your like your love for something. You can't just say something's bad just to say something's bad. You should say that, oh, I didn't like this because of why you didn't like it. Like I told you, I love The Last Jedi. It's just there's just one thing that kind of holds it back. Even then, it goes by so fast that it shouldn't really
Yeah.
even affect you mentally. But the
Yep.
internet is going to internet. We're not going to do that. We never that this is like one of my things is we don't give ratings on the pod or something like that because the fact is that if we're talking about it for
Right.
3 hours or something, then it must
Yes.
be that
Exactly.
we like it. We're not going to talk about it otherwise. Marley knows this. You're not going to catch me talking about After Earth.
Oh man.
Is not my thing. It just is not my heart to be a completionist. It's in
Hey,
mine to
and I love
be
that,
an
man. I love
optimist.
that. That's why I talk about After Earth.
So check out the Apple Box Chronicles podcast.
You can find me at
Where
Peyton
else can they
underscore
find you?
pictures on TikTok. I post videos every day on there. Find me at Peyton JB on Instagram and Letterboxd. to keep up to date with my movie watching and my daily life activities and stuff and everything I do. Mostly going to the movies, of course. But yeah, I love
Of
interacting with
course.
people and just making new friends. So yeah,
Yeah. I'm glad to have you on, and you obviously will
I'll
be
be
back for
back. I'll
more.
be back for that trap. Oh yeah.
You'll be back like the Terminator. No worries. But peace and love. We will see you all next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.